Leslie Bellingham is the Director of Resource Development and Communications for Raising the Roof, a nonprofit organization dedicated to finding long-term solutions to homelessness across our country. What better person could there be to sit on a new task force that has come together to look for affordable housing solutions in the city of Welland? Leslie, welcome to The Source. Can you tell me how the task force came together?
Yeah, so it definitely came together as a desire to have some solutions to really the crisis of affordable housing in Welland. We could see how what was being built, what is available in the community is not matching up with the incomes of people in the city and is becoming increasingly more and more unaffordable. The housing wait list for subsidized housing is one of the worst in the country, really.
Is it still around 10 years or so? Is that how long it is?
It's even longer. For some types of units, it's up to 18 years. So it's just far too long. So really seeing this problem, there was a desire to put together a task force to make recommendations to Welland City Council on what are some possible solutions to tackle this problem. And it was really exciting to see too how it was really a mix of different people, some private sector from even local businesses, city staff, city councilors, nonprofits, all sitting together on this task force and really discussing, what is the issue, what is the problem, what are some potential solutions, researching that. And so that's what we've been really working on for the last year and a half, almost 2 years.
You come to this project through your experience prior to Raising the Roof with Open Arms Mission, doing some food drives. What did you see personally in the community?
Definitely with the people coming into the drop-in center at Open Arms Mission, just a real need for affordable housing. It's part of the reason that they were in need of food and coming there, and just people's experiences. Either they were experiencing homelessness, were really at risk of it, always being scared of eviction, and really sometimes living in substandard conditions, but not wanting to say anything to their landlord because they knew if they lost where they're living now, that there wasn't really an affordable option for them to move into after.
When we look at Welland, the last 3 years, unprecedented growth in new residential construction. How much of that is affordable to these people who need affordable housing?
I'd say not very much of what is newly being created is affordable, not just for people who we would necessarily traditionally think as low income, but really an average income Wellander who's lived there for many years. That's even part of the recommendations of the council, is to really look at not just to see what's something that we can create that's less than average, because the average price has been going up and up and up, but how do we actually match income to what is being created, and being able to even put that on the developers and to actually say, when we're defining what affordable housing is, to actually look at the incomes of people in Niagara and in Welland.
You have to set those standards, right?
Yeah.
And work with the developers to develop the homes that will fit the people with those incomes.
Exactly. Because really, core housing need is defined as not spending more than 30% of your income on housing, as well as it being, safe and decent and appropriate size, but with that kind of 30% in mind. So you have to really start with looking at what are the incomes to be able to see what actually can people afford.
And just to be clear too, you're talking about that 30%, not necessarily those people that overspend on what they're going to do for housing, but who can't even afford that 30% because more than that has to go to their housing.
Exactly. So, if you make $2,000 a month and your rent is $1,500, that, you might have to be in that situation, but it just leaves you so little to live on the rest of the month. So that's the idea, is to, is if you make $2,000 a month, if that's your income, then really you can only afford a third of that, $600, $700 a month.
You're making recommendations in September to council. Can you share some of those recommendations at this point in time?
Just broadly, some of them, they're not all necessarily financial recommendations. I'll say that some of them are, really prioritizing these kind of projects as far as the city, permitting and processing goes. Part of it is even in deferred kind of revenues, having waiving of development charges or property taxes for projects and for units that are affordable to the people who live in Welland. So, making these kind of recommendations, not necessarily increasing taxes, but really doing other kinds of ways of prioritizing maybe some vacant lands in Welland, either municipally owned or otherwise, identifying what would be appropriate for affordable housing. Making these kind of recommendations to council. We have about 6 recommendations at a really high level. We looked at about 20 or 30 possible recommendations and really picked what we thought would be best for the community of Welland and what could be most implemented right away, really, in ways that could really attract the right kind of development from both the private and nonprofit sector of people who would like to build affordable housing and like to create new units. And what do they really need to do to make this a reality?
Do you have a date when you will be presenting this to council?
No, we don't have a firm date yet, but sometime in September, possibly early October.
In your experience working with the national organization Raising the Roof, where does Welland fit in as far as the spectrum of homelessness across the country?
I would say that it is quite high as far as those social housing wait lists compared to, I've seen some other communities that their social housing wait list is only 2 years, and they bemoan that, really it should be zero. If everyone should there shouldn't really be a long wait list if you're really in core housing need. But really in Welland, with those wait times of 10, 15, 18 years, it's a real problem.
We'll be watching how this works when it goes to council and wishing you the best when that happens. Thanks for joining us today, Leslie.
Thanks for having me.